It would be insensitive and irresponsible to say the storm isn't real. I just think the way we're influenced by the storm outside has a lot to do with how we manage the storms inside. There's always a constant stream of news, opinions, and conflicts to chew on, more than enough to make sure our spiritual and psychological bandwidth gets entangled with all the open loops. It gets dark, it gets heavy, and most of this is shit we never signed up for, but life still wants us to create. A little bit of personal information. I have a deep and intimate connection with martial arts. Something about that world has been captivating for as long as I can remember. The confidence that came with taking classes from a young age changed the entire trajectory of my existing in Newark, New Jersey. And my earliest and most impactful role models were characters from Kung Fu films. Point being, I've always understood the importance of force. So when I got introduced to Tai Chi, it disrupted everything I thought I knew. This discipline that doesn't resist force, but redirects it. One big example that comes to mind is Aang diverting Fire Lord Ozai's lightning in the final fight of Last Airbender. He didn't just absorb the charge, he grounded himself and sent it somewhere else. Power doesn't disappear or stop moving, but it can be invited to change course, change form, and change function. That's how creativity works under pressure. We're not meant to suppress this energy, we're meant to transmute it. I don't think we were built to hold on to so much, but we do. All the scrolling, saving, and hoarding thoughts for later. Eventually we get overloaded and things start leaking into our sleep, our mood, and our relationships. Waking up tense and anxious just to spend the day overstimulated and underexpressed. Our nervous systems don't need more input. We need a place to discharge. That's why I write, paint, scribble, record ramblings and voice notes, and practice front yard kung fu like a mad monk, because I'd rather be a conduit than a container. I understand that not every feeling that moves through me belongs to me. And I've spent enough time being dragged by the wild horses, so I don't tie myself to things I can't control. No, thank you. I can't be the only one who's come to a place where you have to stop absorbing everything blindly. You start asking yourself, is all of this worth letting into my system? What am I supposed to do with this feeling? How is this affecting my day-to-day experience? Even that small act of observation changes the way things land on us. Eventually, you don't watch the news and TV shows the same way. Instead of just letting the information wash over you, you start curating energy, sorting and prioritizing what's beneficial. You stop consuming out of habit and start observing with intent. Of course, this doesn't stop the storm, but you might stop being tossed around by it. Maybe you collect some pieces of it, try to scavenge a signal and shape it into something meaningful. That's when the alchemy happens. As soon as you start deliberately expressing the stuff you're carrying, creating from what you consume, you start to intake like an artist, not like a sponge. You might find yourself being a little more discerning about which rabbit holes you let yourself get lost in. What's happening here, I think, is you open a new feedback loop. A purposeful output creates the conditions for a more intentional intake. That consistent act of transmutation makes you a better filter. And being a better filter makes your creative work more authentic and even more necessary to share. It's a pathway past the surface level of production into deeper parts of the process. Call it rewiring neural pathways, call it catharsis, I call it alchemy. And the more you do it, the more momentum you build. When the storm becomes a studio, it stops being a threat to your creativity. You understand your role as a sacred creator in a turbulent world. You stop judging yourself for feeling too much. You start shaping the chaos into offerings. You transmute your pain in plain sight, and you share the process. Little by little, the experience from inside your storm contributes to another traveler's clarity. It's not just art for art's sake. It's art as a shared release and renewable resource. Self-expression might just be the finger pointing at the moon. I think what we really want is freedom and fulfillment through our creative practice. And we chase influence because we know it facilitates impact. So no, I'm not saying ignore the world. I'm saying don't let it eat you alive. We get to choose how we respond. You get to decide what becomes fuel and what to leave outside the fence. Even the scariest waves are a power source if your turbines are in the right place. This is not a lesson. It's not a blueprint. Just an alternative perspective that's helping me breathe a little easier and create from a more optimistic frequency. If you feel like you're carrying too much, I hope this gives you a place to put something down. And when you start feeling heavy, remember, you're allowed to protect your peace. This is just my offering. Thank you for reading. Take what helps, leave the rest. This is the way.